Okay, so I've had more stuff break on my truck in the last year than probably the entire other 11 years that I've had it put together, but I still love my truck, and let's see if a Cummins swap is worth it in the first place and whether an old truck like this is worth to keep fixing. Here we go. So, other than a squeaky fan belt, the Cummins, there really is nothing wrong under here, so I guess we'll just fix the rest of the truck. Okay, so this is my 05. It is now 14 years old, and it has about 400,000 kilometers on it, roughly now. When I first got the truck, I got it in 08, I believe, 07 or 08, so it was 2 or 3 years old. And the first thing I did before the first winter is I sanded down the frame just with a wire wheel on my back in my driveway, and trim cladded the whole frame. Just $30 can of paint, put it on there. I painted all the way up on the inside, painted the frame, painted everything, and I did the frame again when I did the Cummins swap on it. What I didn't do is focus on where the wheel well matches the box. Now, the problem with flares is the moisture gets underneath and it rots the flare out. What's happened to this box is the spot between the wheel well and the outside of the box is completely gone. So as I'm going down the road, it's doing this to the point that my flare is about to come off, and you can see all the resting behind here. Ugh, my poor truck. There are no more spots for the clips on the inside to hang off of. When we painted it, I did the cab corner. I shouldn't have been so naive and not done my rockers, because if I go down, I've got a hole in my rocker now. Not great. It's 14 years old. 15 years is about the most that you can expect out of a vehicle in Ontario. A lot of salt, humidity. It's resting in the summer with nothing happening to it. But I love the drivetrain and I love the truck, so it's not good enough shape to sell. I'm gonna keep it going. If I see a regular cab, long box, 4.3 two-wheel drive truck that's white, in good shape, probably end up just grabbing that. The floor is starting to get a small spot in it. It's not great. The box is beyond repair. I think we're gonna go down south, and if we've got a running 4.3, we'll just drive that back again and quickly do a body swap to it again. I love this truck, I'm gonna keep it going, even though we have the F350. Now, it's a good learning experience for me. We've already got some comments as why are you taking the F350 and bringing it to Ontario where it's gonna die? We're gonna take that truck apart, we're gonna pull the box off, we're gonna protect the bottom with the best materials that we know how, we're gonna protect the frame, we're gonna protect the bottom of the cab. It's not really a winter vehicle. This will be my winter beater, which is really sad. With all the stuff wrong with my truck and all the stuff that I've fixed to it, the nice thing about it is I have zero doubt where I'm going to get there. It is not gonna leave me by the side of the road. That Cummins, as long as it's getting fuel, it's gonna get to where it's going. It'll start in gear. It is a fantastic engine, fantastic driveline. It's just the body on top that's getting a little tough. It still looks good. It's getting the random little spots here. And it was my work truck. I beat the tar out of this thing. I've hauled mulch, I've hauled so many things with this truck. I'm gonna clean and polish the rims. My tires are in good shape. We'll get the steering figured out and then send it out for another alignment. And then you will continue seeing this truck in the videos and in around town. Just the updates have been few and far between, so let's get at it. Okay, so some of the modifications that I've done to my truck, this is actually, aside from swapping the whole drive line, I do kind of like it stock. The back has a 1.5 inch lift, an 1.5 inch block, and the front torsion bars are cranked all the way to the top. So I have 305 70 16-inch tires on it, so that's metric in Canada land, and I think those are 35-inch tires. I scrub a little bit when I back up and crank the wheel all the way. I had to notch my bumper a little bit. You can move your bumper forward, but I like this stance. We're getting new rules in Southern Ontario that you can't jack your truck up with the 1.5 inch block at the back. I like the stance just the way it is. I like the tires just the way it is. You can tell the tires when I turn do make a little bit of a mess on the side, and that's what you get with wider tires that stick out past your flare. So we've had the aux beam lights in here since I put it back on the road again. And what happened was one time I was doing something with the wiring, probably looking at the gauges when we came back from the last Project Car Challenge, and the battery died while the lights were on, and it did something. The bulbs are fine, but there's something in my fuse box that's not letting me put my high beams back on again. I don't think it's a switch. I switched the bulbs around and I got the high beams to come on. The bulbs are fine, but there's something going on there, so I got to fix that. The AC, I have never fixed the AC, and because of that, I have my window down. And the headliner's coming down. So I got to run over to Tuesday and grab another headliner. That glue did not hold up, unfortunately. You've seen me fix that. That did work, but that wind, and I like my window down when I'm driving. My gauge pod here, the clip, there's only one clip at the top that holds it, and it's too much for it. It actually came down. So I'm gonna put a little screw in here and hang that back up again. So speedo and the tach still don't work. This is the crank sensor off of an 05. It is a 24 tooth and I'm missing one bolt. I don't know what happened to the bolt, but I need to get, it is a metric fine thread and it has to be this long. This goes in the front pulley and then I put my crankshaft position sensor right on it. That'll get the tach working. But when I went to go buy the bolt last time, they wanted me to buy the entire package, which was like 90 bucks, and I didn't feel like doing it at that time. So he goes, if I open up a package, you can have one bolt. Long story short, hopefully we get around to this and fix the tach and the speedo. GPS still works and I've got my speedo on there. I did do 2 U-joints. Problem with Cummins, when you do have a gas engine, you change your oil every 5,000 K, you give everything a nice grease job. With the Cummins, you don't have to do it for 10,000 K, and then the U-joints start to go. Change your oil a bunch, the fuel filters a bunch, but it's time for that again. The light bar in the back is still working great. I've only had to use it a few times, but it does come in really handy. So the fenders are actually the only thing that's in good shape. I'm going to be looking for a new body for it eventually anyway. So we'll drive it, spend our time on the GTO and the Audi and the F350, and keep plugging away at this one. The front suspension, the torsion bars, I've had questions on that, whether that's holding up fine. It's holding up fine. I love the torsion bars because it rides way nicer. I know that if you go mudding and if you go rock climbing, solid axle is probably the way to go for durability, but for ride comfort, I love the way these trucks ride. I'll take it over a Dodge and a Ford any day. Close to 200,000 on the Cummins in the front end. I've never had an issue. I've heard of people snapping the torsion bars. It hasn't happened to me yet. That Cummins weighs 1,200 pounds compared to the 500 that the 6-liter weighed. But imagine it's the same as a plow hanging out over the front end. And I know guys don't like to plow with the torsion bars. Hopping in a Dodge and the Fords once in a while, this still rides way nicer. So, so far so good. The passenger speaker's out, so I have to do the same fix as what I did on the Tahoe. You can check that video out. And I think there's speakers in the back here that I've never bothered hooking up. Any other questions? Comment down below as to something I missed or whatever. Also on Instagram, we got this on the Instagram, so you can comment there. I like flipping through there occasionally when I'm waiting for stuff, and then I'll answer any other questions you guys have on the truck as well. Okay, so GM makes these terrible plastic clutch pedals. I think I snapped one. All right, any of you guys have driven a manual GM, you've replaced this plastic piece of junk before. If you look at the first video on the Silverado build, I had a broken clutch pedal actually. What I did was I think I cut it off here and I put the little aluminum plate on there and screwed this in. But this is actually the same size as the Dodge one. So I grabbed a new Dodge Master and it screws into this pathetically thin plastic piece. And what I did was I cut the end off of this. This is hollow. Then I welded a nut to here, and then I threaded the rod 3/8, just coarse thread 3/8. I had to shave the top just a little bit because it flared out, and then I got 2 lock nuts on there. So now I can adjust the height of the pedal as well. That going in there, and there it works. Full travel end to end. So I'm gonna try and sneak this back in there, and then put the Master in from the other side. Pretty, I don't know if I gotta pull the whole dash. Anyway, I'm gonna try. Snap that one about 6 months later, and it could be because the slave cylinder is the one off the Dodge. Maybe it's a little bit more stiffer. Maybe it's because the pressure plate is a bit stiffer. I don't know. Where the Master flips into the whole bracket assembly, just that little square piece breaks out, and you're just basically, your Master's flopping around. You can't shift. Your Master cylinder sits in here, goes in, and then twists, and then you're pushing on this. And with our with our weather, cold and hot and cold and hot, it broke. Now, this broke about a year ago already. Actually, right after we came back from Florida, I think. It hasn't been that long. It's a brand new pedal. This is from 2017. Genuine parts, made in 2017. In the States, in Detroit. Pathetic. Anyway, got a hold of Derek. If you remember, we did a review on his Cummins swapped GM. He's from Milwaukee, and he knew a guy that builds steel replacement ones. So now this is steel. That's all grease there. I already had it in. Decent welds. Everything kind of fits together nice. It's in there. Nice welds on the inside. There's a couple different things though. If you buy yours, it'll have this cup on here for this thing, which I broke because it's easier to get out when it's broken. It's not as bad as it seems. Pull this cover off, 2 little 7mm screws there. Pull your, I think this is a body control module, pull it, just slide that out. The biggest thing is this plug right here that attaches to this thing. It's right up here. Slide the lever up and then pull the plug out, and then take this 1 7mm screw out. It slides out of this bracket here. So take this little bracket out, 2 10mm bolts right here and here. See the square hole, just lift up on that, slide it back and then out, and then that's free. And now you can take the pedal, push down on the brake pedal, put the pedal in, put it in the hole, lift up on it, and it should fit. So yours will come with this cup. I have an adjustable rod on there because I have the Dodge Master and Slave. So I have a threaded rod that allows me to spin this in case, just for the adjustment. And then I welded that little ear on there for my clevis. Now the nice thing about this is there's videos about replacing this pedal, and because it's so big and it's one piece, it's a real struggle to get it out without pulling your dash partly up. But these are the 2 holes on the side to the right of your master, and then there's one at the very top there that you have to get. So when you're pulling this pedal out, I still managed to get it out in one piece, but if you're having trouble, just take a Sawzall and just cut the pedal off, or cut the thing in half, because you're gonna replace it with that steel one anyway, right? If you were to buy one of these, you fix a couple things at the same time. You fix that annoying squeak, just make sure you put some grease on the inside of that. And you can put the pedal in after you've bolted this in. So what you do is, it's hard to see because you take this and you put it on the dash like this, and then flip this up into place, but don't bolt it in place. And then you can still tilt it a little bit. You can slide your pedal in, and then I welded the nut on the back side. Take this, put your pedal in, and we're golden. Lock your master in. Set your proper push length travel that puts your pedal in a certain spot in the truck. So if you wanna upgrade your steel pedal, very nicely done. See, it's all CNC cut or whatever. But now listen to this. No squeak. I fixed it because I even lubed up that clutch pedal. It does work. Look at that. Huh. My seat started working again. I love Chevys. They just kind of fix themselves. Now it's steel. Never going to let me down again. We actually snapped the clutch pedal on the Audi as well. Replaced that with a steel one. It's just, I got to get rid of these plastic pieces of junk. The brakes, I did all new brake lines on it. Did new rotors and pads. I just got a soft pedal on the way home. My poor truck. Look at that. Right to the floor. That way down.
Well, there's the problem.
And you know what's there is the ABS controller. There we go. All right, so I figured while I did the brakes, might as well rotate the tires. Got all new brake lines on there, new pads, rotors, one new caliper. That door had the pins were still a little wore, so updated that with a new piece from the Tahoe. A little bit under the hood, a little leak by the injection pump, got that taken care of. I'm not gonna let this one die. I also need a center link and tie rod ends, and maybe one wheel bearing. My poor truck. Still worth keeping though, I love my truck. Okay, so the brakes, that's just regular maintenance stuff. I think the last time I did brakes was probably 5-6 years ago, but it's definitely time. Your vehicle doesn't necessarily need to get up and go to where you're going. It can wait, but brakes, don't mess around with your brakes and tires, guys. Rear-ending the guy in front of you costs a lot of money. So that is a no-brainer, especially if your families are in the car. So we've got some problems with the Silverado. Is it bad? It's always bad. The truck's broken. Every week I gotta do something on my Silverado. This week, it's a wheel bearing. Although I should have done this. This is just the wheel bearing here. If your tire's out here, it moves like probably last summer. It's spring now. And yeah, that's how busy I am. Not that it's gonna fall out, but it grumbles like an upset troll underneath my front right tire here. Very simple. Take this nut off, take the 4 bolts out. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the hammer chisel usually gets it out. And then we're golden. Because the ABS sensor is in your wheel bearing, when it has this much play, it doesn't see the right trigger. The depth is off on the magnet, and then it'll trigger your ABS light. So when your ABS light is on, usually it's a wheel bearing. Being an original wheel bearing, it's pretty good. There would be close to 400,000 on this wheel bearing, unless they did it when I bought it at 100,000. I guess if you wait long enough, the wheel bearings just kind of fall out. I've never seen this before. Never have I had this happen before. I've done lots of Dodge videos before where you take the bolt, you back it out a little bit, you put a socket on it, and then there's like something that you can just turn the steering wheel up against, and you just push the wheel bearing out because they're always seized in solid. Look at this. GM puts a little O-ring in here, and that keeps it from seizing because they actually thought about guys like us. That's crazy. You wonder why I like GM. No swearing. The cat's not scared of me. No banging around, no steel flying everywhere. I can just take my time, drink a coffee, pet the cat, change the wheel bearing. Wow. So in the grand scheme of things, all those things that broke, that's what's to be expected from an older vehicle. As for the Cummins swap, would I do it again? Absolutely. I was getting about every 100,000 kilometers that I would drive, so 60,000 miles I would drive with the 6-liter gas at fuel. We were paying $1.10 a liter. I was spending $28,000 in fuel. So let me say that again, 100,000 kilometers, 28,000 in fuel. I've got 400,000 kilometers on this truck. That'd be almost $90,000 in fuel that engine took. Now the Cummins took just over half of that. Over the course of 15 years, you can drop your fuel savings from about $100,000 to about $60,000. $40,000 in your pocket, plus you have one of the coolest vehicles in your neighborhood. We're gonna do some more upgrades to it. I'm definitely gonna clean and polish the rims, and we're gonna put a bigger exhaust system on it, because I didn't realize if you drive a Cummins, you have to have a pail sticking out of your exhaust on the end and a 5-inch exhaust. That's just the way it is. You can't not drive a Cummins with a 5-inch exhaust, as I was told. I don't know about this. So comment down below if you think I should use this to hold my maple syrup jug, or if I should put this in on the exhaust sticking out. Yeah, here we go. You guys let me know. Give me a big thumbs up if you hear me with the new exhaust, and then we'll go from there.